to vent.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm
publicly.
so wound up right now.
Welcome to CrossPlatform Podcast, where we discuss how to solve productivity problems across platforms. I'm Augusto Pinot,
And I'm Mark Elwicks, the inventor of USBC, not Apple.
and
So
today we are talking not solving problems, not doing anything other than all thunder, no lighting from Apple. And
yeah.
we're going to discuss the event Apple did um, on September 12th.
Hmm.
Um, they announced the two new iPhones, iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Pro. They announced a new AirPods 2 and bunch of services, Apple Watch 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2. And
Well,
the,
not
the
to interrupt, but there's actually four new phones. There's the 15,
yeah,
the
because
15
of the
Plus,
sizes. Mhm.
the 15 Pro, and the 15 Pro Max.
Correct.
So I'll give them props. They released four of the exact same phone. Um, and
Well,
USB-C.
and USB-C. And let's be clear, they're not releasing USB-C or inventing USB-C because they want to. They are forced to. Okay,
True.
Europe is forcing them to do this, and they are basically complying. Um, it
So let's
was
I was going to say, let's just clarify real quick for anybody who's maybe not familiar with it, dealing with older tech, or actually an Apple person up until this point. What is USB-C? USB-C is a updated connector cable. It's actually a universally shaped connector. It's oval, so it doesn't have an up or down, which up until this point, most USB cables had an up or a down, which means you always had 3 tries to get it to plug in. You miss it the first time, you miss it the second time, you go back to the first time, and all of a sudden it worked. Don't ask me
works,
why. Um,
but that's how it's worked.
light,
Yeah.
Lightning never had that issue. Lightning, you could always plug it in, and it didn't care. So that was always what the other side of the fence was jealous about. Ergo, here we come with USB-C. USB-C provides the same functionality. Very nice. It provides charging and data transfer. So
You know,
go
this
ahead.
event was coming. We're coming to October. Oktoberfest is coming, and it was a beer full of water. You are imagine that you're going to get robust, a nice beer on your Oktoberfest thing, and you give your mug, and they give you Bud Light.
It's funny you use that example because my example was very similar to that. It was like a pint glass of beer that is all head and no beer. Because there's a lot of fluff to what they're talking about. Yes, they've released four new phones. They have new functionality. There's a titanium edge to the outside to make them more durable. They have, the 15 comes with a 48 megapixel main camera. Uh, the 15 Pro Max comes with a 5 times telephoto camera. I mean, there's some nice upgrades in there. If you have a
Yeah.
13, you have a 12, you're looking for a reason to upgrade. As is always the case, these are devices that are worthy consideration for upgrades. They released new watches. They released new. There was something else.
The airports,
The
the
AirPods.
airports from.
So
Okay.
the biggest thing though that I saw related to this, and I have to admit, I did not watch it. I honestly just have not had time.
Oh, you missed the Mother Nature sketch. You should watch it.
It's one of those things where you and I both have always been critical of the keynote types of speeches and these kinds of releases of both Samsung and Apple equally.
Mhm.
This is your showcase. This is your chance to show off your stuff. And everything I've seen related to this, it was a whole lot of meh. There was nothing to it. So what did you think? You watched it. What did you think?
So let me start for where I'm going to praise Apple. Okay. And it has nothing to do with the keynote and has to do with Apple has been very loud about environment and trying to get, net zero in their environment. And they have made significant progress. There are some of the products now are going to be net zero. So that is commendable. Okay. That is a good thing. It felt to me that they put a lot of fluff into this to make it last what it lasts. You, as expected, showcase, as you have showcased the four phones ever, but didn't give me anything. And again, focus mostly on the camera. I understand the phone is your dying line. Okay. We all know that the iPhone is not the growing line. They are right now banking into what the Vision Pro is going to do. And that's what they're going to try to grow. They have been trying to grow the iPad. So we understand that. But the show was anything but impressive. Okay. You came with new titanium phones and then bring gray, blue, light gray. You know, it felt as blend food, and it may be maybe from a non-geek perspective, it was great. Most of the people I talked to that are geeks and are into this, they found the show extremely, extremely boring. Also, I understand there is a problem on the technologies that were announced. There is such a gap into competition that gradual improvement is the best you can do. Okay. But there are problems. So the people who bought the iPhone Pro Max last year, okay, the version 14, now your Pro chip, it's on the 15. So if you wait a year and you make this a tendency, you are telling me not buy your new technology, but wait a year because you're going to put it significantly cheaper. Didn't seem like a good strategy to me, or at least I didn't understand it.
This is what let me jump in on this because I think you're really onto something here. This is when we hear these companies talking about the lengthening of the refresh cycle, where people are holding on to their devices for 2, 3 years now, taking advantage of that longer time period. This to me is perfectly systemic of that. This
Mhm.
is a symptomatic approach to it because when you don't have these kinds of technological leaps, there's no incentive to do a yearly update. Why would I get rid of something that's, a 14 is really freaking close to this. A 13 still within operable reach of these devices. So I'm looking at least 2 years before it makes sense, unless I'm an early adopter or bleeding edge, to
Could you
make
give me a
that
good
jump.
reason?
I haven't seen one. That's the thing.
That's a
Well,
problem.
no, I take it back. There are lots of little reasons in this that hit specific targets. Like, for example, the 48 megapixel camera, the 5 times telephoto. If you're a photo hog with your
If you're a
phone,
photo hog, yes.
I get it. But that also, to me, puts you in the bleeding edge category. You
Right.
want the biggest and the best right then. Uh, but
But and that is the problem. The problem I found is for you made it for a very specific target to upgrade. For the rest of the phone users was like, there is no reason. For a normal user, there is no reason. Okay. If you are a gamer, maybe. Okay. But then make it a strong case and fight against Nintendo. Okay. On the Switch, you didn't do that either. You didn't make that case. And that's where what my issue was. It's not that there is no a lot, it's that you didn't give me anything on yesterday show. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We went to a new chipset for the watch. Great. I didn't see any reason to upgrade from a version 8 to a version 9 on the regular watch, or even from an Ultra 1 to an Ultra 2. Okay. So where where is that? And that is my concern is I get it that they are ahead on certain technologies. But if you let that people catch up to make the next leap, what you are telling me as a client is okay, you are okay waiting.
I wonder if they have, and not I say they, not just Apple, but all the major manufacturers uh, have resigned themselves to this minimum 2-year cycle, that they are not catering to whoever bought last year, but they are catering to who didn't buy last year. So
Right.
when you look at things like the Ultra, the watch itself, they added functionality that's a significant step up from the 7.
Hmm.
If you compare those, yeah, it's a good step up. The price went poof. The Ultra 2
Right.
price is the same price as an iPhone 15. I mean, that's, to me, that's just kind of mind-boggling. And I wear a high-end Samsung, and it's a little bit more than half of that price. I mean, come on.
Right.
Um, but when you look at the flagships and you look at the differentiation in the flagships, we've always considered flagship as the cutting edge of what a manufacturer has to offer with their product. And if this is Apple's cutting edge showcase prices no object type of thing, I really agree with you then that I think they're taking their eye off their phones, that they're looking at the Vision Pro, they're looking at what's next. This is keeping them in the game, this is keeping them popular, this is keeping them relevant. But this isn't this isn't pushing them to a new level.
Nope.
This is
Or at
them
least
on.
I. It seems like the most important thing of this event was not the
Mhm.
phones or the watches. It was the fact that they are going carbon neutral by before 2030.
Yeah, and
That is great for investors, but this was not an event for investors.
but honestly, and I hate to go extreme capitalist on this, but carbon neutral's fine, but that doesn't generate stock value. And that's what these guys are all about. You got to sell product and you got to make product. And
Well,
carbon neutral makes you look good, makes you feel good,
I
gives you
disagree.
warm
I
fuzzies,
disagree on
but
that. It make you look good at the eyes of those investors because it's the theme that is going around.
right. But who's
On larger
honestly,
corporations is when we are going to be carbon neutral. When can we be that? So that put you as an investor, okay, if you believe into that environmental thing, okay, and I'm not saying I don't, as an investor who
mhm.
cares for that, that put your stock into a very, very premium place. That is fine, but that was not the event.
Okay. So don't get me wrong. I think the carbon neutral is an extremely good thing. I love to see companies actually taking, even if it's just lip service,
Right.
action towards this direction. That said, the pragmatist in me looks at this and says, okay, how many people are actually choosing to not buy Apple devices because they are not yet carbon neutral?
I
I think
agree.
5, maybe 5 people. So that to me is kind of the similar situation that like Samsung has. Samsung has this whole raft of global initiatives and all these things, and that's great and that's wonderful. And it's warm and it's fuzzy, but it doesn't, to use the corporate phrase, it doesn't move the needle.
Right.
It doesn't change the dynamic. We're looking at things. Apple was touting the fact that they no longer will have leather watch bands. Okay, and I can guarantee that the day this watch hits the market, Amazon will be full of leather watch bands that fit that product. So while it's nice to say, if that's the big thing you're talking about, your big thing is not that.
Right.
It's the fact that you don't have a big thing you're bringing to the table. Now, I'm waiting anxiously to see some comparisons. As always, they've touted, battery life, especially around the watch. They're talking about all day battery life.
Right.
Okay, well, what the heck is all day battery life? If you don't have all day battery life now, are you charging your watch twice a day? I don't know. I don't have one. I mean, mine, I can go at least a full 36 hours without a problem.
Yeah, on mine I can't. And if I have a day of high communication because of the notifications, I need to charge it twice.
Yeah, if I run, and I do run everything on my watch, um, I can go a full 24 hours without charging, even if I'm using the sleep tracking. If I turn off the sleep tracking, I can get even more out of it. So,
Right.
but that's neither here nor there. There's extra stuff that's added on to it there, but again, this is a whole lot of I don't I don't get it. Oh, here's a perfect example of them getting so close, but as we've seen time and time again, these manufacturers just like, you could have hit a home run here, but you stopped at third base. The AirPods Pro will be coming out with support for a USB-C charging port.
Mhm.
That's cool. You can charge it wirelessly off your phone. Also cool. What are they not going to do? They're not going to offer USB-C charging cases for their previous versions of AirPods.
Right.
Why? Why would you not open that door up? I mean, granted, if I want to be the pragmatist, I'm going to look at it and say because I want people to buy the new
The new
ones.
one.
Okay, that's fine. But still, I mean, all that means is that we're going to see massive numbers of them in Amazon coming from third-party vendors to
Mhm.
provide the same functionality. Or this is what I think we're going to see a ton of: Lightning to USB-C converters.
Right.
We're going to
Well,
see
it was
welcome to
announced
dongle
for
world again.
$29. You can. This is and fine. Put it. It's
Mhm.
$29 from Lighting to USB-C. Okay, great. But I understand. I understand you go to a premium market. So hey, if you want what we don't offer, go to the Amazon and buy whatever you want. Great. I can buy the
Mhm.
case. Buy. I'm fine with that part. But he's what I wasn't fine, and that was the reason. The original title for this um episode is escaping my mind. Apple event. I don't know what you said, but
Yeah, it
I
was
will
just
look.
Apple announcements. It was
Yeah,
just Apple
Apple
announcements.
announcements, and then you text jokingly the old Thunder Note liner and say that's the title because that's exactly what I felt. Okay, it
Yeah.
was all this, and then at the end of the day, there was nothing.
So
Okay? It was a little
so
rain,
here's
not even
here's a
exciting.
non-Apple question for you, but it is tied to the entire industry.
Okay,
Have we reached peak phone? Have we gotten to the point where phones are no longer worth talking about, where people don't have the interest in them that they used to, that there isn't the hype? I mean, the only things you see hype about are when a phone kind of breaks the black slab of glass barrier. There's hype around the Samsung ones because they fold. But again, that's 5 years of phones now.
mhm.
It's it's a phone. Everybody's got a phone in some variant. And I challenge most people who aren't geeks to look at the phone that somebody is sitting across the room using and identify what that phone is. I mean, unless you know camera configurations in the back of the phone, the odds are really good you're not going to be able to tell a phone from a phone from a phone. You won't know if they're using a 13, a 14, or a 15. So it's not a status symbol anymore.
Right.
It's just, a piece of equipment that you have as part of your daily life. Have we gotten to the point where these are now commodities rather than uh, important pieces of technology?
Well, the problem from my perspective is not that the phone is irrelevant, is that we have not figured it out as manufacturers, or they have not figured it out as manufacturers, how to make the phone or replace the rest.
Yes.
When Steve Hawkins of Palm Pilot came out with the Foleo, that was 2004
Hmm.
or 5, so 20 years ago, 19. Okay, the concept of that was what? You have this powerful phone and you're going to pair with this screen and keyboard and use the power of your phone. So when you disconnected, you are out. Okay. Right now, there is more people using phones than as their main device as anything else. The
Mhm.
problem is not that the phone is not powerful, not that you have technology on Samsung like the Dex, not that you cannot work on the iPhone and make it happen. The problem is manufacturers, I think, are afraid to show the average person that power and then stop losing the sales on the other devices.
So this is, I think you're really onto something here, because this is one of those questions that I ask myself a lot and I have yet to come up with an answer for. I do not understand why we do not see more docking technologies for these devices. Samsung, for example, has DeX, as you mentioned, where you can run it. It's basically like an Android-based Chromebook, for lack of a better term. I know you can do the same thing with Apple.
Mhm.
Why is this something that's avoided? Why is it we'll go out of our way to buy Chromebooks, we'll go out of our way to buy tablets, but why would you go through this is the wacky part. Why would you go through all the effort of buying a tablet and have all the electronics and all the power and everything when you could literally have basically a slab of glass with a huge battery in it and connect directly to your phone and just mirror your phone onto a big screen?
Mhm.
And it's like a
And
$250, $300 device. And you could charge your
the
phone off of that. I
right.
don't why is the market have such a blind spot to this tech, do you think?
I think it's because the manufacturers don't want you to understand that you can replace most of the technology by a phone. Okay. Even if
Mhm.
you ask me, my phone use, okay, I can get the I can get rid of my phone. My phone actually is a very old phone that was
Mhm.
upgraded a year ago. Okay. And a year ago I didn't even upgrade to the newest one. I upgrade to the 13 because it was the better deal. Okay. But I don't use my phone. I live in my iPads. Okay. And I connect them to keyboards in and out, regardless the size. What I see people, and I get it, when people think on working on their phone, what they think is working on whatever 6.7 screen is the largest, that size. They don't think, or they don't have the knowledge, or both, to connect it to a larger screen and now mirror that and work on that size. Actually, you were the first person I discussed that, or at least that I remember, discussed the DeX technology with excitement. Okay. And this was many, many, many years back. And I never to this day understood how Samsung didn't crush the market with that technology. For our listeners, if you don't know what the DeX is, you connect your Samsung device and
Mhm.
basically make a Chromebook out of that thing. Connect keyboard. I have recommended to my Android clients, and I have a client, okay, who he prefers to carry the Chromebook than use the DeX technology because it's on his mind is,
Well,
well, but I'm already carrying anyways a keyboard and and a and a monitor to use what you
mhm.
said, so I better carry this.
Well, and that one I can explain. I can explain when you have somebody who has used something like a DeX-based system and they decide, "No, I still need a laptop, I still need a Chromebook," things like that. Why? Because the browser sucks. Because we don't have a proper browser
True.
on the phone. And it could be Apple, could be Android, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
You don't actually have a Chrome browser. You have an Android Chrome browser, which
Right.
means the experience is inferior. And on some sites won't even work when you try to do that setup. Now, the principle of something like a DeX is fascinating because, and I'll go back to my buddy Samsung, if you get one of the Samsung tablets, like an S8, S8 Plus, S9, whatever, they have a DeX button. One tap and it kicks the tablet into DeX mode. Well, if you have the keyboard with it, you have that full Chromebook equivalent. I
Right.
carry mine and use it that way. But why would I spend $800 on a tablet that does that when I could just have a device that gives me the screen, gives me the keyboard, has a ton of real estate in it for a massive battery that I could charge my phone off of, and all the horsepower comes from my phone. Well, my phone is twice as powerful as that tablet. It's equally as powerful from a stat standpoint as my laptop. Matter of fact, it has the same amount of storage as my laptop. It just it boggles my mind that we still have this blind spot to the fact that these black slabs of glass that are in our pocket are the most powerful computers we deal with on a daily basis. And
But
we cannot set up systems to take advantage of that.
but is, as I said with the iPad, the one of the biggest issues with the iPad is the addiction people have to the mouse. Okay. I carry here my iPad mini. This is my main machine. This is the thing that carries with me. I carry this thing more than the phone. Okay. I do everything on this thing. Okay. And we were talking about you and I belong to the committees in our communities for the Oktoberfest. Okay. I was called to a marketing meeting yesterday to help into some stuff. And the person I was working was seated in a full PC, couldn't do what I was doing on my iPad. And this person was looking at me like, but how you are doing that there? And said, oh, I can do it on my phone if I want it with me,
Mm-hmm.
but all that I had is the iPad. Okay. One of the problems in technology is that we don't learn more than what we think we need. Okay? You use Excel, but you don't learn how to use formulas because, well, I can
Mm-hmm.
add manually or I can use my calculator. I have seen people in Excel pull the calculator so they, no, but you're in Excel, you equal whatever. So that is one of the biggest problem is we don't go and explore the technology we have. People go and buy the $1,500 phone, but don't explore further. And I understand it. Okay, and I understand that's part of what I do when I coach iPad only. I work with you and help you how you're going to maximize and learn that knowledge so you can get the most out of your iPad. And it is very fun when you finally get that client, that person to realize, wow, I can really, and I test things like this. Okay, this is magnets on the back of the
Mm-hmm.
case, so that way I can use this machine with a keyboard place, attach it magnetically to the cases. Why? Because these size do not have. You don't necessarily want a keyboard on this size. You want a keyboard a little bit larger. So how you work with that? So there are things like this. Okay, where I play with an 11-inch keyboard and then put the
Mm-hmm.
magnets in place so you can attach the iPad, you can attach the phone, and then work that way. I understand that's part of what I play and do for a living. Great. But that's the problem is we don't go further than that. We don't go further than learning. One of the reasons I love this podcast is because people get tidbits of other things they can do. They have the Chromebooks, they have the MacBooks,
Mm-hmm.
they have the PCs and the phones, but they know how to do up to one point. They don't, if you give average user and you remove their phone, okay, most of them, there were things that they will not be able to do, not because they cannot access, but because they only know how to do them from their phone. But at the same time, you don't learn how to do that cross platform among the things that you do day to day.
Yeah, and that's I agree. I think this kind of goes back to where we started with this whole thing. These companies, these manufacturers have the opportunities to put lightning with their thunder. If they stop looking at what they've been doing all the time and they look at how do we actually take advantage of all of this technology that's out there and and push it into new combinations. That's that's what I don't quite fathom why some of this stuff gets missed. And here's a perfect example of it. I have for the longest time envisioned somebody releasing a phone that just has a curve. One, it's in landscape layout. And two, it has a small curve to it, probably about maybe a ½ inch high at the arc. Why? Because I would love to have that as a cuff to wear instead of a watch. Now you've got the whole device, everything you could possibly need to do. Tap, type, scroll, everything. Slides under your sleeve. You don't have to worry about it as in your pocket, anything. Nowhere has this even been posed as a possibility, but yet it's a usability thing that would be highly functional for people. But I don't understand why we miss this. There's a company called NextDock, and NextDock makes basically it's a laptop. It's a clamshell design that has a monitor, has a keyboard, has an external USB-C connector, and it has a built-in 10,000 milliamp battery that it can charge whatever device is plugged into it. And it uses that USB-C to not only charge that device, but also mirror the display of the device to the laptop. It's a 14-inch display. So now running your device, and it works for Apple as well as for Android. The only thing they talk about is the fact that you can't use it for touch screen on Mac and iPhones, but you can use it for Android. It's $300. I mean, this is to me where I'm like, okay, why we talk all the time about adding additional devices, singular purpose, but why?
Sorry, I agree on what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of times when I talk about keyboards for iPads, okay, or pencil for iPads, okay,
Mm-hmm.
$100, okay, not 300, $100, okay, I get so much fight against. Well, but it's $100. I understand it's $100, but how much work are you going to get? And one of the things right now is we see, or not everybody, but a lot of people see accessories they buy for their phone as expenses, not investments. They don't
True.
understand that I can get this keyboard, okay, grab my iPad and I have a full-fledged computer in my living room, okay, that can
Mm-hmm.
be either way, either or. They see it as, well, this is an you expend $100. No, I invest $100 so I can use more of my iPad. And I think until in the phones that criteria change, then it's difficult, because if you think about it, if you talk to people, regular people, and listen the accessories they buy the case, okay, but they don't say I invest on a case that do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's I spend on the case.
Yeah.
So and that is something that I see in technology. If your mentality is you spend money on accessories,
Mm-hmm.
then you are not looking at the accessories, how you are going to get most or more out of the device, but how you are going to protect the device, how you're going to, it's a completely different mentality. When you buy and play, when you look at accessories, okay, and I'm saying this because I know you, okay, you invest in accessories and you look in the accessory, not necessarily if the accessory is going to cost you $100. Is your mind goes like mine, if I invest $100 in this accessory, how much more can I get out of the device?
Right. Is it going to increase the productive use of that particular device? And I think you're absolutely right about that, viewing these as expenses, not as investments, because, and this is something that, again, we go back to the manufacturers still have yet to say, these are computers.
Mhm.
It's a phone, it's a tablet, it's a watch, no, these, aside from the watch, these are full computers. For the most part, 80 to 95% of what you're doing, you can do on these devices. If you have the correct peripherals. And that's where I
Correct.
think the problem, because we never talk about these as complete systems. And you use your iPads in a systemic manner all the time.
Hmm. Right.
When we talk about things like a DeX setup where you've got a keyboard and a monitor and a mouse and using that as your CPU, if I were to take that phone, and this would actually be a funny thing to do to people, buy an old desktop tower case and run the cable out the back of the case and plug the phone in and stick it inside the case. People would think it's a desktop computer.
That's
They'd
correct.
look at it and go, this is cool. It works just like my phone. It's so easy, but it's a desktop. No, it's your phone in a phony box.
Hmm.
But it's that metaphor that we have been taught over and over again that these devices cannot do enough. They do not have the capability, nor is software set up to take advantage of these devices, that we have the problem. And
Well,
that's where,
and without going too far, I shared this with you. I don't remember if we share it here in the show. When my daughter went start high school this year, okay, she said she needed a computer, okay, and I told her get an iPad Pro. She wanted a MacBook, okay. The difference in price was not the big deal, okay. I tried to talk to her and argue on why the MacBook versus the iPad. And I show her the specs, okay,
mhm,
but for her, okay, the iPad, okay, that is what it is. Okay, in the house of the stillman, people eat with wood, fork, and knife. That's what they said him from where I'm coming from. Okay, and for her, the laptop was going to be more powerful than the iPad.
mhm.
Even that I show her specs by spec, but on
Yeah,
her mind, there was no way to change it. And
it's an unfortunate side effect of the marketing and the branding tied to these devices that and it's not just the devices themselves. It's the software that goes along with it, it's the
everything,
operating systems, it's the entire package because it creates this myopia of and blinders around what these are capable of, and just taking them a hair outside of that space opens up huge capabilities. Absolutely huge. And I'll go back to Dex and give a use case from my own history. I was working at a client site for about 2 years in a cube, dedicated environment, all of their systems. You could not bring in your own tablet. You couldn't bring in your own laptop, nothing. You could have your phone, but that was about it. So what did I bring in? I brought in a Dex dock. I plugged it into a second monitor and a second keyboard. I didn't connect it to their Wi-Fi. I used mine, but I had access to everything. And I had two people wander by. One person was a business user who came by and said, "Oh, wow, how did you get your own machine?" and things like that. I'm like, don't worry about it. Then I had an IT person come strolling by, look at it, and goes, "What is that?" And I explained it to him. He's like, "That'll work. You haven't violated a single premise. You can do everything you need to do. It's no different than having your phone. It's just a bigger screen." This is the type of thing that we're talking about, that these devices are that powerful. And like I said, the flagships that we're talking about here, to go all the way full circle, the flagship Apple devices, the flagship Samsung, all the others are more powerful than most laptops that are out there.
I was showing somebody because now you have an application where you can put virtual machines and run virtual machines on the iPad, on the M2s at least, okay,
Mhm.
and on the newer Pros. And I was showing to somebody the Mac and the Windows, okay, running locally in the iPad. And this person was like, I don't understand that was possible. And
Yeah.
and we start talking and say, no, you don't understand. For the work I do, I need a PC. And I say, yeah, for this task,
Mhm.
you may need a PC. Then you open your virtual machine inside of your iPad. Okay. And for this person was not possible. Even that I was demoing in front of him, local, not connected. There was because the
Yeah.
paradigm for this person was for this, I need a laptop.
Yeah. And that's going to be, I think, a perpetual challenge for a long time.
Yeah.
There is no direct benefit to manufacturers to reducing the number of devices that they sell.
Nope.
I mean, there's a point where they'll sell too many. They'll, Samsung went through this with their phones where they say, oh, wait a minute, we are just making too many different things. So they narrowed their offering down to like
But they will
12.
offering they will narrow the offering as Apple did to 4. Okay,
Hmm.
they now sell, I think it was 8 or 9 phones. Okay, to compete in every price point possible.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, but you will not show people what you really can do with the phone, because that way, if I show you that, you may not buy the iPad or may not buy the iPad and the Mac. So it's from the manufacturing perspective, the altruism in their heart is buy the 3 of them and you can have every possibility.
So this is what's the largest iPad physically that you can get?
12.9.
12.9. Okay. So that's smaller than most laptop screens. It's more portable than most laptop screens.
Mm-hmm.
So if you add a keyboard, you actually have, for all intents and purposes, a fully functioning laptop. The only thing
That's
you
correct.
lack is if you're in a business environment, you may need access to Windows based applications and software.
But
Microsoft
but
has
let
made,
me clarify. But let me
yeah,
clarify. For most users, that's not true, because most
true.
users, what they use: Word, Microsoft, PowerPoint, and SharePoint, and Teams, and Outlook. Those are the 6 applications that 99% of the users use,
Hmm.
that you will be able to run natively on the iPad. The only
Right.
exception and disclaimer I will make, and I will always make it, is if your world live in heavy Excel sheets, formulas, macros, and stuff,
Hmm.
you need a Mac or a PC. The
So
iPad jet will not do it.
here's where I was going with this is that Microsoft is pushing heavily now the ability to have cloud-based PCs,
Mm-hmm.
virtual
365.
spin-ups, which are true like Windows-based spin-ups. That to me changes this dynamic. And it goes back to the situation you were talking about earlier with using a virtual machine setup, remote control software as well. I run remote control software all the time to connect into other machines. I have it running on my primary laptop. If my laptop's up and running and I don't have my laptop with me, I can take my tablet and connect to it. And it's like I'm sitting at it. It works the same way, say, because I have all the speed there. I'm just transmitting the visuals back and forth. So I think we keep saying the same thing, but I'm going to say it one last time as we start to move towards the end here. These are devices that have maximum upside if people would start to look at them for more than what they are, just what they are. Stop thinking about it as just a phone, a text messaging, and a camera device, and start to look at them for what they truly can be. All of a sudden, you've got a whole new world of opportunities for that.
Mm-hmm. But and that is the reason we have made these shows in the past where we talk about the accessorizing, and that is where I said it's fine that you don't know. It's fine that you are the
Mm-hmm.
average user who don't know, who don't care. Okay. I had a client, okay, who came to me and said, I don't care. Okay. I what I need is, this is my problem. Okay. I'm done
Mm-hmm.
carrying the PC. This is what I do. And I need to learn how to do it in an iPad, so I don't need to carry anything else. And the
Yeah.
funny thing was, we did exactly what you described. Okay. When I start talking to him, I say, why do you want an iPad? Oh, because at the large of the screen. I say, why you don't get something you can connect your phone? And
Mm-hmm.
the answer was, because I didn't know I can do that. So I
Right.
explained to him a device similar to what you described in the show today. Okay. And that's what he carried. He carried the dumb device in his bag and used the phone connected when he gets to the hotel. He wanted for the hotel. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
oh, when I get to the hotel room, I don't want to do, all, I get it. Okay. When I get into the plane that I have a little bit more space, I don't want to do this. I want a comfortable keyboard. And that's what we set up for him. And he is being very happy. He carries now the phone and that thing, and he can get to the meetings, pull that thing, and
Yeah.
that's what he uses.
Yeah, I really think that that will be the next major breakthrough that we see.
But
Not,
they need to be open to share that, and I don't see it yet.
yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I do not see any of the manufacturers making a play in that space. Google has talked about it. Google Desktop, they've talked about it. Samsung has had DeX forever, has never actually done anything with it. Um, and that I, this is what irritates me, and I'm going to jump on Samsung's case for this. Why would you not provide a straight cable connection to every Samsung monitor you sell to allow you to plug in a DeX device?
Right.
Why? Why would you not do this? It's a simple, easy connector to add in, and now you have opened up this huge market base. But
But if you
no,
think about it, the Dex, as incredible technology as it
Mhm.
is like the secret handshake. It's like the geek thing that the geeks know
Yeah,
it
that's true.
exists, but the average user have no clue it exists.
No, that's true. That's true. I Here's the funny thing is if they started putting out, I wonder, if they started putting out DeX devices that could run regular Android instead of saying that they're Android devices that run DeX. Like if they're tablets, this would be fun. If they'd stop selling their tablets as Android tablets and start selling them as DeX tablets, that would be a heck of a conversation and it would sure stir up the media going, oh, what's this new thing? Well,
Mhm.
it's not new. It's as new as USB-C. So
Well,
I had to get a shot in again somehow.
I know you need it too. So with this is the end of All Thunder and Not Lighting, and that's what the event was. I mean, follow us where you like to listen to podcasts, like us or subscribe to us and leave us a review. You can also interact with us on personalproductivity.club. There is a channel for cross-platform, and you can come and agree or disagree with us on the thunder and the lighting. We are Augusto Pinot and Argel Wicks, and see you next time from your favorite device. Thank you.